Okay, so I've talked about this about 100 times on the podcast. Starting once we hit about episode 30, we've wanted to do a tier list. It's a big trend the last couple of years here, where people will take their favorite snacks or their favorite movies of basically any amount of things, and rank them on a tier list. So, as polite or not polite as it may seem, we are going to rank all of the episodes of the podcast here on a tier list, from S being super, and then, correspondingly the letters meaning what they stand for. So hopefully we don't have too many F tiers. I've not gone through them. I've not given this any thought other than the idea of doing it. So we will take this as it comes. First and foremost, it looks like I've got Matt O'Connell's first episode. What is that? Episode 3, right? So we're fresh off the heels of starting the podcast. No, I think it was 3. What's that? Yeah, I know. We're just picking them out of a pile. I just got them random. So Matt was one of our first episodes. He was fresh off being at Country Thunder, I think, and we talked about his experiences there. It was an interesting time of his and my life, and I think some of that shined through in the podcast, but I will say that I was probably not where I should have been in hosting-wise. So for that, I'm going to say C tier for Matt's first one. This could get rough. I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but this might be bad for some of you. Just kidding. Okay, who else we got here? We've got Cade Marquis. Cade Marquis what was he? Was he the episode after you? I think he was 4 or 5. Cade is a very interesting guy. He said a lot of things, I guess, as one might expect in a podcast. But some of them being a little bit too vulgar for even a podcast where we pretty much allow you to say anything. So I won't go into too much detail, but there may or may not have been a little bit of censorship in that podcast. And for that, I'm going to say D tier. But other than that, I think Cade did actually say some pretty funny stuff, and I think he's actually a really entertaining guy. He's been on our channel in a couple other videos. He was Judge Janice, who is actually I'm not going to go into her. She's a transgender judge who gave Officer Schmo here the death penalty. So she's quite the character, and he played her. So he did play her very well, and he's a very funny guy. So hopefully we can have him back on sometime, and he can redeem himself and maybe become a B or A tier. Chaz Wagner, my man Chaz. He's my bar manager at work, and he was one of the first people to know that we were starting the podcast. He basically gave us the history on almost any cocktail you could think of. I'm used to it at work, but it was cool to see him in this environment giving it to people on the internet, which is something I know he's wanted to do for a long time. So for that, I'm going to say B tier for Chaz. Oh my goodness. We've got Jake Raymond. His surprise appearance. I guess it's the episode as a whole. So he didn't come through until about 40 minutes in, and then I think he wasn't supposed to be on. But Jake, it's funny. He's actually nominated for an award tonight for biggest moment, and it's almost a little bit bullshit because he should have just been on the show months and months and months ago. But his surprise appearance made it as one of the biggest moments because he had canceled, and as the viewers know, I said very mean things about Jake every time he canceled or mentioned even being on, and I took that as him being on, wanting to be on. So this podcast was big for the fans, and it was fun once we got Jake in there, but I want to do it again, and I want to do it right, so I'm going to give C tier for that. It was. It was a little craziness. Okay, so we've got Alexandria Wiseman here. This Princess of America, does anyone know if she's still the Princess of America? She didn't. I bet they probably wouldn't have done it again, actually. Yeah. So Alex Wiseman, Princess of America at the time. She was fresh off just winning, I think. I'm not trying to look at Tim because he used to date her, but she did. They did, and she's an awesome girl. She basically gave us the ins and outs of pageantry and what that entails, and I don't know if you're looking at me or not, but I really have no idea what any of that would be like. So her insight was awesome, and she's actually nominated for an award tonight for most informative. So for that, I would have to say A tier for Alex Wiseman. Okay. We've got, who do we got here? We've got David Amberghini. His first appearance without Delaney Brown. I actually think that his first appearance was better than his second, and that is usually not the case for most of our guests. And not that he was bad his second time. I just think that he was a little bit more himself in this episode. He talked about some of his controversies with making the content that he has, which I'm sure some of you might or might not know about. And yeah, it was a little all over the place. It was pretty fun, and I felt like I got to know David a lot more in this episode than I did the other one. So I'm going to say B tier for this one. B tier. We've got Ty Mulcahy here. Ty's episode, so again, you're kind of getting to see the other side of each of these episodes because, yes, you get to see what we actually record. But his was kind of a last-second ordeal where we wanted him on weeks before, and he couldn't do it. And then I had someone else scheduled for that day, and they canceled. So then we filled it with Ty. And we were without one of our cameras, and we did some pretty nifty swiveling of the camera. And it was a little awkward video-wise, but conversation-wise, Ty is he's a very funny guy, and he's very knowledgeable in the world of fitness. And he gave us some great tips, like don't snort. What is that? Salt C4 or it was workout some workout powder. Do you guys anybody know what that is? No. It's some weird salts that he gave us the advice to not snort, as it may really hurt your heart. So I appreciate the advice, and I think Ty's a good guy. I'm gonna say B tier for Ty. B tier for Ty. Yeah, he was supposed to be here actually. Joe Rogan? He's on Joe Rogan's show? Oh my goodness, that's insane. Okay. Just to lighten this up a little bit, I'm going to give, so we did an episode right when COVID happened, and we were in the process of figuring out what we were going to do guest-wise, and so we didn't have a guest, and it was just myself. It was not the worst episode ever, but it just was it was weird going from talking with an interesting person every week to just spouting the unknowledgeable opinion of my own about what was COVID at the time, which I feel like we still know about as much as we did then. Yeah, so for that, and because COVID was involved, I'm just going to say F tier for myself there. So there it is. We've got the man of the hour. Sherm, we're doing your episode right now, and I had people that have never watched the show tune in that night, and we get that every night, every episode with people, because new people bring new people in. But I had so many kids that joined that live chat that never do, just to either talk smack or praise this man. So he is 100% the most controversial person we've had on the show. But honestly, one of my favorite episodes to be on. He started off kind of shy and was a little nervous about what I was going to ask him. And I felt like afterwards I learned a lot about Sherm, and I feel like there's still more to tell, and we're gonna definitely have him back on sometime. Okay, let's split this right. That is the equivalent. You gotta talk into here.
All right, that episode was like the tip of the iceberg, barely touching the stuff I have been through.
Really touching what Sherm has to offer.
So like next time I'm on, we could go like 2 hours.
I feel like we got a
really
lot
go
more.
into it next time.
I feel like we got a lot more, Sherm. We got a lot more to go.
Oh yeah.
Grab that. But thank you, Sherm. But I think it was one of the best ones, and I thought that you, for knowing that those people were going to tune in and say the either positive or nasty things they did, and being totally able to face that head on, for that I'm going to say A tier for Sherm. And it's also one of our most viewed. It's also one of our most viewed podcasts. So the stats don't lie. We've got here Rory, who is not here because I guess he chose today to like his mom again. I don't know. He's never once brought. I didn't even know he had parents. If you talk to Rory, but he decided that today he was going to be a family man and attend a family dinner scheduled by his mom. So Rory's one of the best guests we've had on. mostly, I think probably in the fact that he's so detached from social media in a way where his mind flows just wherever the wind blows. This man can go, and he really did. He told us his incredible story of how he learned what a strip club was actually about, because he had very different ideas of what went on there. And that's I'll leave that at that. But I thought it was one of our best episodes, and for that I say Rory is an A tier. So he's lucky I'm giving him that because he's not here though. I'm kind of pissy about that. Okay, so what do we got? What do we got here? Devin Wiley. This was our only remote podcast, or no, second remote. This was our first one that we did, but we only did 2 podcasts remotely, and this was the first one that we did. It was again a last minute. I had a cancellation, and so we news. What? What? Whoa! Wait! Okay, Jake, you need to get over to the mic here. Hand him this mic real quick. We got some breaking news from the live chat. We got some very breaking news. Make sure you keep that F a little lower.
I'm here.
Good job, Big Ty's working hard. What's going on, Jake? Why don't you let us know? Jake's off camera right now because no one can see you. Yeah. But Jake, why don't you let us know the backstory?
Rory's grandma did pass away a few weeks ago. I didn't think that was anything to do with the dinner tonight, however. So I'm
because
sure.
You've got an inside look, right? You're our Rory correspondent.
I mean, Rory. I just spoke with Rory like an hour and a half ago, so that wasn't quite in the description tonight.
So it was more so just a family dinner.
Yeah.
Okay, good, because I would have felt really bad and probably had to.
I mean, did someone comment that?
Yeah, people were upset in the comments. So.
Who did? Taya, that was not. That is
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
so
mean,
the joke landed. Is the joke okay or is the joke not okay? Because if I'm getting canceled, I know a lot of people are getting canceled right now.
There could be some related talk involved in that dinner tonight.
Okay.
But I don't think, because as of last night he was going, and then today he had to go to dinner.
All right. Well, we'll take it as it's up in the air.
Yeah,
we'll find out tomorrow
I don't know
if
if I
I'm canceled or
appreciate
not.
that. I mean, maybe Rory appreciates it, but I'm a little hurt right now, Taya.
Rory can laugh at anything.
Yeah.
So
no,
probably
Rory's
that
all right.
Also, hopefully, I don't know. So we were talking Devin Wiley here. He was our first remote podcast that we did. I really appreciated him being on because again I had a cancellation from people and this was due to COVID related reasons. So I really appreciated him being on. However, I think that he's a guy that I needed to have here in the studio to really get everything out of him. I think he's a really funny dude. He's been in a lot of our videos as well. He plays Officer Lard in our TLPD series. So, one of the Lards. That's Big Ty back there is the other guy. And they're okay with that name too. I may have wrote the name that way, but they still like it. And I think we need to have him in the studio to really get everything out of him. So for that, I'm gonna say C tier for Devin. And it was the first one that we were doing via Skype and shit, so the audio was iffy, but that's just on my end. So, then what do we got here? We've got Anthony Grisanti. Nobody in the audience, I think, knows Anthony Grisanti except for Harrison back there. But Anthony, the only reason he ended up being on the podcast and the only reason I got to meet him was because of the episode prior. A guy by the name of Banning Daniel, who was on the show, talked a lot of shit about this guy. Said that he said something about this guy's music not being very good. They're both musicians, and apparently Anthony had dissed Banning before, and it was a classic white boy beef because we had Banning show up. It's actually nominated for one of our Biggest Moment awards. We had Banning show up in the middle of Anthony's podcast, and let's just say they squashed the beef immediately upon seeing each other. They both shook hands and said that they were joking. So it was a big waste of a surprise event, but it still made for a little bit of good podcasting for when we didn't know it was fake. So for that, I'm going to give it a C. I think we got to have Anthony back on. I know he's working on a lot of new music, so once he's done, we'll have him back on and talk about it. Let's see here. We've got David Amberghini and Delaney Brown together. Now, this is both of their second appearances on the show, and this is, at post Delaney Brown being very successful like she is now. I think the first time I had her on, she was only at like 1,000 subscribers, and at this point, she was at 20-something thousand. So she was definitely killing it at the time, and I think that was back when David was still uploading. He doesn't really upload anymore. The two of them together are very funny. However, I felt like they mellowed each other out in a way that I didn't get to like see either one of them like I did the first time I had each of them on. So for that, I'm also gonna say C tier. So I no S tiers yet, no super ones yet, but we're getting there. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see here. What do we got? We've got Tay Hageman. Are we going with Taylor Hageman, or are we going Tay Hageman blog? It's Taylor. We're just saying Taylor Hageman. Okay, Taylor Hageman. That's the internet name. We had Taylor Hageman on, not Tay Hageman blog. She came on and actually is nominated for one of our biggest moments with the guy standing next to me, Tim, because she put lipstick on him. It was a bet that if she blocked her ex, which I think that was most of the podcast was about the struggles of this ex, and it was a very toxic relationship that we learned a lot more about during the podcast, and we had made a deal with her that if she would block him live on the show, that we would let her put lipstick on Tim, and she did it. So needless to say, Tim got lipstick on, and the guy still found her. So he did he ever see the video? He saw the video.
Yeah, he saw the comment about the dick enlargement.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
He wasn't happy about that.
Nice. Well, I'm sure we're not friends with everybody, so that's how it goes. This is a very entertaining podcast. Someone we definitely have to have on again because I think she can probably bash that guy more if she wanted to, as well as plenty of others.
Blog post from tonight.
Exactly. Read the blog post tonight. So Taylor Hageman, A tier.
Thanks.
Okay, now we got Banning Daniel, my man. I actually really like Banning, but he continually disappoints me with beefs, and he won't drop music, and he is a musician I think is really talented. So he talked about a lot of cool things while he was on the show, but a lot of the things that we've talked about both on the show and in private have not come to fruition, and I want to see them. And until I do, I'm giving Banning a C tier. So let's see what we got here. Duncan Marshall, my man. Duncan's in the back. He's here. He was there while I was building the awards that were given away tonight. His dad was kind enough to let us use his shop. Duncan here was I think you've pretty much watched almost every episode. I think Duncan is one of our biggest fans, and I am so appreciative, indebted to him. He shares the music, he shares the YouTube channel, he does it all for us. And then I felt like we needed to have Duncan on to talk to him and see what he was up to. And I thought it was a pretty casual conversation, nothing extremely out of the ordinary. But I think that's because of where we were both at that time, and I think we got to have you on again. And so I'm gonna say C tier for Duncan Marshall. I thought it was good though. I thought it was okay. I just don't know that it was B. Okay. It wasn't bad at all. I thought it was fine. I thought it was great. It was good. Okay. So we've got we'll start putting them on top of each other. We've got, who do we have here? Let's see. Okay, Joey Withrow. Joe Witt Gaming he was at the time. He stopped that a while back. He gave that up. I think when I had Joey on, he was episode like 6 or 7, and it was just after. I don't know if it was after yet or if you guys were ending your business together, Jake. But it was right around the time that you guys were calling it quits, and I don't think he wanted to talk about it then, but here I am talking about it now. And so I don't know that we talked about it on air, but there was definitely some underlying jokes during the whole episode, and it just got all over the place. That's why he was nominated for Most Chaotic. And the porn snippet was a bad incident on our part. We blocked it. It's not there anymore. You could check, but it was a big oopsie on our part. However, I think Joey's an entertaining guy. I think we need to have him back. He's gone through a weight loss transformation. It's been incredible to watch, and I think he was a little nervous the first time we had him on. So I think we gotta have him back. So I'm also gonna go with C tier for Joey. Let us see here. Who do we got? I'm looking for an S tier so I can lighten the mood in here. I feel like everybody's getting really scared. We've got a couple Tims in here. All right, so we've got Jonathan Mendez. He's nominated for Best Guest. He is a good friend of mine, someone that I enjoy talking to anytime I get the chance to. I think he's a wildly interesting guy. He's even ran a famous Twitter account that I'm sure some of you may know about. We talked about on our episode the meaning kind of social media in today's day and age and what it can do to kids and even ourselves in some aspects, as well as just random comedy. And he even planned a trip to Cali, which I can't remember if he ended up actually going. I think he actually did end up going to Cali like 3 days later. We flipped a coin on whether or not he was going to go to Cali or somewhere else, and he actually stuck with it. So I'm going to give Jonathan, I feel like I'm underselling his episode, but it was one of our best episodes, and I think you should check it out. I'm giving him S tier for Jonathan. Too bad he's not here. Yeah, what a bitch. I should have just knocked it down one. I thought he was coming too. It pissed me off, but whatever. Whatever, Jonathan. Okay, so we've got my man Raymond K. Roberts, who I just recently had on, and this was fresh on the heels of me protesting in Twin Lakes, which, as you all know, was eventful. Yeah, it is, positive vibes. And I thought he was the proper person to follow up something like that with, because he had reached out after the video, and then I checked out some of his stuff, and just seemed like someone extremely knowledgeable in those areas. And honestly, after speaking with him in pretty much everything that I could think of, we talked for like an hour and a half before the show, mostly about technical difficulties, and we continued to talk another hour or so after the show. He is one of the most intelligent people I've had on the show. Someone that definitely has, after that episode, I really wanted to push myself to get a little bit better at interviewing, because I felt like I couldn't even ask the right questions to somebody who is that intelligent. So really appreciative that he even took the time to be on the show. And for that, I'm also going to give Raymond K. Roberts S tier. So, and you guys should check that one out. Definitely, especially with everything that's going on right now in the world. You should definitely watch that one. Okay. So we've still got some episodes to go through. Okay, P. Dizzy, I think it was the New Year's Eve special we had you on. Pat Collins. I know your mom doesn't like when we say Patrick. She likes Patrick better. Patrick Collins, in case she's watching. Patty cake. My man Patrick is he is super into third eye conspiracies, and just in really thinking outside of the box when it comes to this world. He's got to stand up. Yeah, that was not what I thought was going to happen. But no, he's a super interesting guy, and it kind of sucks that, because I don't think you were even scheduled to do that day, and we just wung it. We had no questions, nothing, and it was a very entertaining episode. But I think we got to do it again, and I think it'll be better next time. But I think it was still one of the more interesting and funny episodes we've had. So for that, I'm going to say B tier. B tier. Okay, we've got Kevin Klitzka, his first one. Now, if he is watching, because he decided to take a shift today at 10:30 last night. He called us at 8:30 as we were setting up everything for today, and told us that he would be here, no problem, no questions asked, because he wasn't sure up until that point. And then texted at 10:30 last night saying that he had work all of a sudden. So I don't know how that happens unless you pick up a shift, Kevin. But other than that, Kevin's a good friend of mine, and I always love talking to him. However, I think that he gets shy in front of the camera. I know he gets a little shy on stage sometimes. So I think he can do a lot better. And for his first appearance on the show, I'm going to go with a D tier. So, and it might have been nicer if he was here, but I don't know. Oh, really? Oh, God. Okay, who do we got here? We've got Taya Gaines and Kayla McCracken. Also, definitely one of our most interesting guests to have on. I mean, the two of them together are. I probably didn't need to be there that day. They can talk themselves. We're upgrading to having a couple of mics set up so we can have multiple guests. But until this point, we've only had the two mics. So it was a little interesting to try and set that up audio-wise. So Taya's laugh was enhanced, while some of Kaylin's actual like talking was a little messed up. So on that portion, that's on us. But I think the two of them are some of the most entertaining people, and I think Kaylin especially should probably just do entertainment in some capacity. She already does on Instagram, sort of. That they're both really funny. I thought we talked about, I mean, we laughed for half of the episode and then somehow got around to talking about like what family means to each person. So they're people that you can always have a deep conversation with, or you can just share a good laugh with. And for that, I'm going to give them an A tier. So A tier. Okay. We got to, who's in the, oh, I'm the only one with an F and we only got, okay, well, yeah, we need some more Fs, dude. No, I'm just kidding. This is close. This one's close though. So this my man Ethan Scholda. I actually don't think Ethan's a bad guy, and so I don't mean to be rude. This is all jokes, but he when we had him on the show, he had been begging me for weeks to be on the show, and I honestly was like, well, I had people scheduled, and then like one week I didn't. I wasn't sure what the hell we would talk about, so I didn't have him on. Eventually, he told me that he had just got picked to compete nationally for our like Olympic aquanaut team, or not aquanaut, water ski team, our Olympic, yeah, USA water ski, yeah. So he gets picked for that, right? And he's like, we'll talk about that. I'm like, dude, that's awesome. That sounds interesting as hell. I don't know anything about that world. That'll be a great conversation. Yeah, but that's little stuff. So I didn't know anything about that world of USA ski team, and I don't think a lot of people do, especially this is someone who's going to have the ins and outs. So I really want to talk about that. And he showed up, and 2 minutes before we go live, I've got all my questions written out, and he says, I don't want to talk about that. And I said, well, what do you mean? And he goes, I don't want them to see this. And I was like, oh, okay, that hurt. I see you, Ethan. So I think the conversation got a little bogged down when we started talking about his like 11 cars that he's owned in his life, and and I asked him not to list every single one, but he insisted. But other than that, I love Ethan. He's a very nice guy. We got to have him back on, talk about water skiing. Hopefully he's not upset if he's watching this. I'm really not trying to be mean. I'm just telling you like what happened from my point of view. So I'm gonna give him a D tier, not F, but D tier. I think we could do better, Ethan. And you need to spill the beans on the aquanaut or ski team stuff. Well, I know, but I want to hear from the guy that's doing it. You know what I'm saying?
What do you think I do?
You blog, don't you blog?
Other things besides that.
Tim's Halloween episode. The Halloween episode was fun. We got to dress up. We dressed up as Wayne's World. Tim was, it doesn't really make any sense actually now that I think about it. But probably should have been Garth and he should have been Wayne. But we did it reverse, just to wear the wigs.
I feel like Wayne's like the leader.
That's fair.
You were like in charge. Like
Tim's saying that for people, I don't know if they can even hear that, but yeah, Tim's saying that Wayne is the leader and Garth is, yeah, that makes sense. But it was a fun conversation. We talked about how long we've been friends, some spooky, I think we talked about a little bit of spooky movies, and I think our moms were drinking and decided, usually you're not allowed down here while we're filming, but they both made their way down here to,
Deborah happened to be in town.
yeah, and so they had some drink.
I haven't seen my girl in a long time.
They had some drinks flowing.
we had some weird conversations.
Yeah, they had some drinks flowing, so we had some weird conversations with them. I thought it was pretty entertaining. So I don't think that that it was necessarily as great as it could have been, though, from an audio standpoint, or from, I think Tim and I definitely have more to talk about. So I'm going to say B tier for Tim's. So I thought it was B tier. That's only his first appearance. Tim's been on the show. I think Tim has been on the show the most other than me, if I'm remembering correctly. Okay, so we've got a very special episode here. I probably shouldn't even be doing this one yet, but I just saw it. So Renee Ratchek, which was our first episode, which, as I mentioned earlier, when we bit off more than we could chew and tried to hook up two $900 cameras to a laptop that could definitely not handle that, and so we ended up only uploading the audio because basically the video was destroyed. And then we found out that the mics were not hooked in correctly, so it was literally the audio straight off of the cameras with no video corresponding. So it was very tough, very hard time. The studio did not even look as ridiculous as it does now. It was like a barren, it was these two white walls with those Pizza Boy pictures in the back. So it was probably even creepier than it was for most of you guys to come here for her. and especially only knowing me as the guy who dates her niece and the guy that would get her ice at the bar. So I can imagine that might have been intimidating, and I think that she was definitely a little bit shy at first because I think she's one of the most interesting people I've had on the show, but I don't know that like she showed it 100%. But for being the first person to start the show, I definitely can't give her lower than a B. So I love you, Renee. Let's have you back on for season 2. We've got it all figured out now. Hopefully we'll see you soon. B tier for Renee. So Tim's there too, he says. Okay. Deja Simpson. Everybody got, I just wanted to let the tension sit there for a second. Deja's here in studio today. Deja is nominated for one of our funniest episodes. I think that was another one where I think we planned it a couple days ahead at least. Was it the day of? I think it. Okay, yeah. It was. I knew it wasn't really planned. I knew it was either like a day or two out, but I guess it was the day of, which happens a lot with the show. So we're working on that. We're trying to make some sort of contractual agreement so people can't keep canceling, but I don't think we can do that. We have no leverage. No, Deja, I'm really thankful that Deja came on the show because she's just a wildly entertaining person. She's very funny, very kind, and has always been supportive of us doing this. I think you were here the day that we dropped like our album. You came here and hung out with us. So I always really appreciate having Deja around. I think that me throwing her into it last second is not very fair, and I think that she would have done an even better job than the job that she did do, which was, again, one of our funniest episodes. So for that, I'm going to say B tier for Deja. Tim is there. Okay, the special episode with all of Banana Beats, all these clowns except for this one and this one, I think. Yeah, because they weren't present, but Logan wasn't there. Yeah, I didn't invite Logan, but it's fine. So this episode was tough audio-wise because we had the gain set for how we normally do, but we were all holding the mics all the way up here, so it was a little tough on the ears, but some funny stories, and it's just a bunch of friends from basically almost kindergarten hanging out, shooting the shit. So I think it was a fun episode. I think we were promoting our new project at the time, but I think that if we do it again, 1, we're gonna have better audio. 2, we're gonna have all the members, and 3, it'll be a little bit more structured, so it'll be a little bit more entertaining, I feel like. So I'm gonna give us a C tier for our first one, our first appearance together. Okay, another one. So we got quite a few left. Holy shit! Yeah, we're only like halfway. Okay, McKenna Stanek, my girlfriend, was on the show, and she was not happy about it. She does not like being on the show, and I feel very bad. Yeah, she's just not in very out there, like an outgoing person like that. Like you cool with people, but you just don't like socializing being put on the spot like I'm doing right now. Yeah, exactly. So when I think Ben canceled that week, who still hasn't been on the show. This guy, one of my friends, who I say that I want on the show like every time I bring up that he's bailed, and then I schedule him and then he bails again. But one of my friends, Ben, has not been on the show yet. And McKenna so kindly stepped in that week, and we had a pretty good conversation. It was chill. It's just I don't feel that it was as normal as if we were just talking. So and I think that's probably my fault for not easing you into it a little bit more. So because of me, not because of you, I'm gonna say C tier. So it's not you, it's me. It's his first one. You've been on it like 3 times. There's still a chance. Okay. Let's see what we got here. We've got my man Luke Rognes. Luke Rognes is in the back. He's here. Luke, did we schedule that ahead of time? I thought we were like a week out at least, I think. Did you reach out to me or I reached out to you? I can't remember. Yeah, you did reach out to me because I didn't know if you would be home or ever, and I had never even thought, and you turned out to be one of our best guests. So I really enjoyed having Luke on. He's somebody that has been we've never really been super close, but every time we've gotten to hang out and gotten to talk, I like him more. We definitely we bonded a little bit in high school over sitting on the bench together, so that was fun. And we got to sit across from each other and kind of just kick it and talk about his many experiences that I am very envious and jealous of. Luke had got to live overseas for, was it a year? It was a whole year. And the stories that he told on the podcast were awesome. And again, I'm very jealous of them. So I want to put Luke Rognes at an A tier. It was also our Christmas special. So it's a Christmas miracle that we got such a great guest that week. Okay. Delaney Brown's first episode. I had no idea what I was getting into the first time I interviewed Delaney Brown. Her fans are very passionate, to say the least. She's got her fan base is very large now, enough to, if they wanted to, cancel me. But so I'm just letting you know that I'm aware that you guys have that power over me if any of them see this. But we had her on, and this was like episode 6, or it was right around that first couple podcasts, and I actually think I did a decent job interviewing her. I had like 40 questions ready because I knew like this was a big deal because she had 1,000 subscribers and we had like 10, so it was a big deal at the time, and her audience definitely showed up. So it was something that was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun to have her in the studio, and I think her first one was a lot better than her second one was. So for that, I am going to also say B tier. B tier. I am definitely getting canceled for that, 100%. Okay, my man Michael Bjerning. As a lot of people don't know Mike Bjerning. He was a quiet guy. He actually he went to Lakewood with myself in elementary school. He was another, not last second. I think he was like a day or two out from the show. We booked him. He had brought it up to us, and we were like, yeah, dude, let's do it. And he's a funny guy, very, very kind dude. I don't think that I had enough prepared to get the kind of things out of him that I wanted to. He does some great work, like remodeling bathrooms and whatnot. And I think that again, that's not that that's like the craziest thing in the world, but I think everything is interesting if you can ask the right questions. And I had no idea what he even did for work when I had him on the show. So I was kind of backpedaling, trying to work my way around that. So for that reason, I don't think I got everything out of him. So I'm going to say C tier. You're probably going to start putting these in the middle. C tier, man. I'm just trying to keep it. I'm just trying to make it really special if you're on there at all. So sorry, guys, if I'm shoving you. Okay. My man Dylan Fraley, also nominated for Best Guest. He is one of the funniest people that I've met. He talked about on his podcast how he wanted to become a rocket scientist just to be able to say that it's not rocket science to people, so that because he could say that he does actual rocket science. That's not actually why he became one, but that was the original idea of it. He also talked to us about his dad killing his dog when he was very young by accident. It was very sad. And somehow we got around to him Uber driving random drunk people in Virginia. So he's a really interesting guy. I think his podcast is one of the best. And yeah, a lot of people were excited to see that we got him on the show. So hopefully we can have him back. I know he said he wanted to do it again with Jordan Bank when we have him on, and that will be happening very soon. So maybe, who knows? Dylan is S tier because it was one of the best conversations I had. So S tier. What was that? You and Dylan have a nice relationship? Jake says he loves you, Dylan. Okay, I've got Johnny Pfluger and Alyssa White, who again I feel bad. It was a last second booking, which that's like 90% of these. But they were very fun. They definitely had the energy for it. They had secrets that they could not disclose during the podcast that I found out afterwards, and that may or may not have been the reason why they laughed for a majority of the podcast, and we didn't get a whole lot of talking. But they're very fun people to be around. I just think that we need to do it again, and I need to help facilitate that conversation better. I think that we didn't really there wasn't a whole lot of substance, but there was a lot of fun in the episode. So if you just want to laugh, you can go check that one out. But I'm gonna say C tier for those guys. So don't hate me, Johnny. I still love you guys. Okay, I've got Lisa Poco, one of the bigger names that we got on the show, because a lot of people know Miss Poco, and yeah, Mama Schwang, as Matt just said. We had a lot of people like give me the like, really, when I said I was getting her on the show, And I think that maybe it was Poco talking a little bit of smack to his mom before she came on, or just the fact that not everybody is in front of these lights every week. That I felt like she was a little bit reserved at the beginning and not her normal Mama Schwing self. But I felt as it went on, she gave us some really gold nuggets of entertainment and just herself, her personality. She's nominated for Most Inspiring tonight, and yeah, she was definitely one of our better podcasts. So for that, I'm gonna say A tier. A tier. Dan Trutchell, Coach T, is in the building. I cannot believe that I got him to come to my mom's basement twice, dude. That's crazy. I just got to keep joking about it because that's two times, man. Coach T was I was like fresh off of I had just talked to the people that were opening up that Friends restaurant in town, and I was supposed to do an interview in there, but they never got back to me, so I'm not supporting that business until they come hang out with us. Nothing bad to say about them except for that I want to do an interview. Let's do it. You guys got an awesome couch. I want to sit on it. I'm jealous, but I'm not. I want to try the coffee too. You sat on it? I've sat on that couch. Is it cool? I heard the coffee's great. And Alyssa says they have Bloody Marys. The muffin is incredible. Here we go. Here we go. I'm hearing only great things about Cup of Joe here in Twin Lakes. So I definitely want to try it out sometime. But I'd love to sit down with the owners like we were supposed to and kick it. But I was fresh off that, and they'd said yes, and I was hyped. So I was like, you know what? I got another idea. I want to go get another big guest, another person that I know would be an awesome person to talk to, someone that I didn't know a ton personally, but from my only experiences with, were always positive. And I really wanted to reach out to Coach T, and so it was kind of shot in the dark, and we set it up. And I'm so thankful that we did. I'm so thankful that you survived the car accident that happened on the Highway 50 that was trying to stop you from getting here. But we got him here, and it was like that was one where he showed up 2 minutes beforehand, and we just went with it. And that is a great case of my guest carrying me through the interview. He was fantastic. I had questions, but he just went above and beyond with all of his answers. So he's also nominated for Best Guest and Most Inspiring. So Coach T, it would be ridiculous of me not to put you at S tier. So he's got it. Okay. So we've next up we've got my man Choppy, the Chopster, as someone called him in the comments. I don't think he would have liked that. I'm not gonna call him that, but Choppy, my man, he's a musician here. I'm not sure exactly where he stays, but he's in the area. Musician, he's been doing it now for a while, just about almost as long as we have, I think, just about. And really, he's been putting out a lot of music. He's got a good group of guys around him that all want to see him succeed. We were promoting his new single at the time, but he had mentioned that he was coming out with a mixtape sometime soon, or an EP, I think it is now. I think that we didn't have a whole lot to talk about, and he said this himself, that he really was just kind of got a little shell-shocked and a little bit he was a little bit more quiet than he would have liked to be. I think he definitely has a story to tell if you're going to make music. I mean, you're telling your story like that. So I think that we need to have him back when he drops his EP, promote him up a little bit, and get to hear from him and his crew a little bit more, because I don't know that we got enough out of Choppy. I feel like I didn't get to learn enough about you, man. So hopefully we can have you back on. I'm going to say C tier because I didn't think it was a bad episode by any means. I just think that we can do better if we have you on again. Okay, I've got my man Reese Rankins. Reese, who at the time I had not spoken to in quite a few years, actually. He, by his choice too, not by mine. So Reese, if you're watching, that's on you. We hadn't talked in a while, and I think we'd only seen each other maybe twice in passing before I'd asked him to be on the show, because we were such close friends before. And I think we were both just a little awkward towards the beginning, but I think as it went on, it's good, Tim. It's good. It's good. Was it stabbing you or something? Oh, it was stabbing. Big tie a little bit. It's okay. How are your arms doing, by the way? He's kind of tired.
You gotta talk faster
But Reese and I, we go way back, and it was fun to just have him on and kind of get to have my friend back. So it was like a special episode in that regards. But I think we need to have him back on and get a little bit more out of him because he mentioned on the show that he wants to own his own business someday, and I would love to get into more of why that is. So I think it would be cheating Reese and myself to give this more than a C tier. So I'm going to give it C because I feel like we can do better. Then we've got my man Trevgar, who said he was coming today, and I don't see Trevgar, so I'm pissed. No, I'm just kidding. Trevgar's a good guy. He is a Twitch streamer. For those of you who don't know, he's only on the show once, but he was friends with Tim for a long time when we lived in Janesville, and he streams pretty much every single day. He's a really good guy. He said some pretty funny stuff in that podcast, and I don't know what it was. It didn't really catch with a lot of people. He didn't show it to his people over on Twitch. But I thought it was a decent episode, and for that I'm gonna say B tier. Okay. The let's see here. The Black Lives Matter episode. This is just me. This is probably the only episode that it's just me that's not going to get an F tier because I think it was a very important video to do. And in that, a lot of people have crazy differing opinions on everything that's going on. But when it comes to that, I don't really see an argument in that everybody's lives do matter, yes. But if, this house is on fire right now, we got to put that one out. And so I think it was just an important message to put out there and let everybody know. I felt like it would have been wrong to continue doing the show had we not say anything about it, especially that week when everything was going on. So we wanted to make sure that we said something about it, and it was very important to myself personally. And for that, I feel like no matter where I put this, it won't be acceptable and it'll be bad. But I think that it's like a B tier episode. I thought it was short, but it was sweet and it was important. So B tier. Tim trusts my judgment. Awesome. I pay him, so I don't pay him actually. I don't. Okay. We've got Matt O'Connell's second appearance. He was back in the building on May 4th to talk about Star Wars, to just nerd out with me. We do this often off camera, but we got to do it on camera for a little bit. And I'll just be frank, not a lot of people cared, but it was a fun episode to do because we were talking about something that we both like and we've grown up loving. And it was cool to hear his. We mostly had the same opinion on all of this stuff when it came to Star Wars, but it was cool to hear the little bit of differences that we had, and I thought he gave some very hot takes, and I think obviously we're going to have Matt on again. I think this was better than his first one, so I'm going to say B tier for Matt on May the 4th. The views say otherwise, but I love that episode. I thought it was a good episode. You guys should start doing it too. It would make me feel better. Okay. Next up, my man, Big Ty. He's holding the sign for me. Hopefully not getting stabbed by any tacks. Hopefully he didn't work out today because, it's a piece of cardboard. I hope you can hold it. But Big Ty, someone I haven't known that long, but I have definitely come to tolerate. He's a great guy. He is one of the funniest people I know. I'll probably say that multiple times tonight. Literally the picture of us is me dying laughing from that episode because he explained how he worked at a theater prior to working at McDonald's now, but that's not a diss. McDonald's is great. They pay for college. He worked at a theater where somebody literally took a human shit during a movie and left it, and Big Ty himself had to clean it up. So it was, and no, I don't know. It was a full no. It was a full on adult shit, and I think that's where it came from. So Big Ty, and not only the stupid. There wasn't only shit jokes. There was a lot of great comedy in that episode, and you can definitely see just two friends hanging out and having a great time together. So for that, I'm gonna say A tier for Big Ty. A tier. What's up, Tim? Tim, what's your question?
All right, it's for Big Ty. Did you push to have them get like a poop scoop, like the theater after that? Like, did you have to do that?
After that, I actually had to clean up shit again, but it was outside.
Why didn't you get him? Why didn't you make him buy a poop scoop?
I don't think there's any bears in Beloit, but I could be wrong. Okay. We're coming down to the last couple here. We'll last like 5 or 6. So, Tim Freeman's second appearance. This was last second because, again, Ben, who is like responsible for half of the guests that I've had on here, by him not showing up, Ben canceled on us, and me and Tim just wung it, and I think one of our tripods had just broken. So you can see Logan's nifty camera work, where he's holding. We actually have like a very it's not a steady cam, but what would you call it? What would you call that, Harrison? It's like a camera rig, a big camera rig, shoulder rig, and Logan's holding this. It's pretty sturdy, but I think Logan was falling asleep on us because Tim's face was all over the frame. But the picture of Tim says it all. When it goes up there, Tim and I feel like we had a much better conversation. It was pretty funny, pretty free flowing, and for that I'm gonna say A tier for Tim. He did it. Okay. Edith Rita, we're up to my mom now. We're on to my mom's episode. Again, I think it was because of a cancellation that we had my mom on. We had my mom on when we did because I was planning on doing it once we were much further down the line because I figured, you wait till people care about you and then they're like, oh, I wonder who his mom would be. And so I feel like I definitely spoiled that in a little bit that we had to throw you out so far or so early and play that card. But it was fun to have my mom on the show. She's been a big supporter, as cringe as that sounds, since we're doing this in her basement, as I've said many times. But she's helped me out. She's helped me make some decisions with everything, and it was fun to have her on and hear her say it. I know I made her really nervous because I don't remember saying this, but apparently I said like she had to be, no matter what I say, you have to be honest about everything, and she got super scared.
Hour before the show, you come up to me.
You gotta give her the mic. Mic her up. Mic her up.
So like
This
about
is
a
my
half
mom off screen.
hour before the show, Darren walks up to me very seriously, like right in my face, and he's like, no matter what, whatever I ask you, you have to be 100% honest. And I'm like, Jesus, what is he digging up on me?
What do you have
like
to,
the
what do you have
last
to
21
hide?
years of my life are flashing before me,
What
and
do you
I'm
have to
like,
hide, Mom? She's
what?
so okay. My mom was a fun guest to have on. We're gonna have her back on. Maybe I will ask whatever questions she thought I was gonna ask, because that sounds pretty interesting since she was very scared. So it was fun to have her on, and I think that again, if we planned it in advance and then we maybe didn't stress her out so much beforehand, we could do even better. But she is nominated for most inspiring episode. And I think it was one of our better episodes. So for that, I'm just gonna say B tier for my mom. I feel like we can do better. Okay, we've got Logan Rita here next. He's right there with the big pants. He lost his pants today. I know. Nobody noticed, but I noticed. So yeah, you can't see it anyways. He lost his pants, and then I made it a big deal. He had very long hair at the time I interviewed him. We had just brought him into the group and started making music with him and having him help out with the productions of the podcast and the other videos. So it was fun to get to hang out with him. I actually don't live with my brother, so it's always nice when we do get to sit down and talk. I think he's working on some new music, so I think we'll get a lot more out of him very soon. So for his first appearance on the show, though, I'm gonna say B tier. Okay, we've got Kevin Klitzka, round 2 on the podcast. He was much better his second time around. I even let him sit in my chair. He was very excited. I think a lot of people didn't tune in live because they saw that he was already back on, because I think it was like 2 episodes later we had him back on because of cancellation, and he was here, so we just did it, and it was a lot of fun. He was a lot more willing to talk on much more wide variety of topics, and I think that's when he spoke about his dick not being premature. So Kevin is a really funny guy. I think he showed it a little bit more in that podcast. For that, I'm going to say B tier for his second one. I still think he can do better. Okay. We've got this was, I think this was episode 42. It was Detox some ish. I think I named it for the PG version, but it was again cancellation due to COVID. So I'm gonna just say F tier for this because I was, failure on my part to schedule somebody, and then also the audio was jacked up and doubling. So I was really upset afterwards. I had no idea during, but I found out later that the audio was doubling. So yeah, don't watch that episode. So F tier for that one. So if you guys think I'm being hard on you guys, trust me that I didn't sleep that night. Let's see. It's not a joke, dude. I'm serious. Ben Goal, who I had on the show, he's someone who watches a lot of the podcast, listens to a lot of the music, even did a really cool drum cover to one of our songs. He hasn't released it yet, but he's a big fan of the stuff that we do, and I'm a big fan of his. He's really talented. He'd asked to been on the show like 3 or 4 times, and I think I had people scheduled those times, surprisingly. And so we finally worked it out, and we had it on. I thought we had a pretty chill conversation. It wasn't anything crazy, and I think that we just scratched the surface. So for that reason, I'm going to say C tier. But I don't think it was a bad podcast at all. So now we're down to the last 3. We've got my uncle, Arch DePula, who came on the show. This was one that we scheduled ahead of time. Was a pleasure to have on. Tim, you got that? Yeah. Okay, cool. Oh, got you. Pleasure to have on. He's nominated for, I think he's nominated for both. Is he nominated for 2 things or just 1? He's got 2, most informative and most, and best guest, because he's one of our best guests. We talked about a variety of different topics, as you might do on a podcast that's about almost nothing. He gave some great business advice, talked about overcoming a lot of hurdles in his life. We snuck some comedy in there, and we talked about everything from comics to basically building a business. So it was a lot of fun. I think he misidentified Lil Wayne as Lil Jon, but he did meet Lil Jon, so that was really cool. We got to hear the story about that. But yeah, so I thought he's one of our best guests. He's nominated for best guest, so for that reason, I'm going to say S tier. We've got here, this was me and I think this was with McKenna round 2, and we had just gotten done going vegan for 30 days. And I'm not meant to be vegan. I love animals. I really want to protect them. I think that we got to do something about factory farming. I don't have any ideas on how to fix that, so don't ask me. But I gotta eat meat right now, and I think we should fix the way that we do it. But yeah, I gotta eat meat, and it was a weird time because I think it was like 30 days into COVID, and that's why you came back on, because I had a cancellation. But I thought it was a much better conversation because we were going through weird shit with going vegan and everything, totally plant based. So I thought the best burgers that we had that were plant based. The Impossible Whopper. Actually, Burger King. What's going on with that? Because mayonnaise is not vegan, obviously, and they put mayonnaise on it, and I'm halfway, and that is the only time that we messed up in the 30 days going vegan. Yeah, I was pissed at myself. Yeah, those were all right. Those were good. I'm getting destroyed right now. Luckily, they can't hear this. They can only hear what's on here, so it's okay. That might get me canceled. No, Burger King, if you're making a plant-based, totally vegan sandwich, why the hell are you putting regular mayonnaise on it? And then I'm finding out halfway through. It was embarrassing. It was totally embarrassing, only to myself, but still. It was a fun conversation. We made a lot of jokes about being vegan and stuff like that. So it was a lot of fun. I think it was a lot better than the other one. I would say B tier for our second time together. That's good. B tier's solid. That's solid. Okay, last but definitely not least, he's nominated for funniest episode. One of my best friends, John Gregory. He dipped out. It was part of it was a small plot point in our documentary that came out a while back about our first show when he quit and stopped helping. He used to be a part of all of this and help with us, but he quit kind of randomly 2 weeks before our show, and so it was kind of tough. But he made his much awaited return on the show, and we hung out and we kicked it. He talked about how he wants to see a nuke in his lifetime, which I don't agree with, so don't cancel me for that. And he also he explained that he got cow shit in his mouth, and yeah, it was some kind of really gross stories going into Yeah, it was a new diet. No, he worked on a farm, and it gave a really interesting perspective on the not so fun part of working on a farm, and not just the eating literal cow shit. But it was a really great episode, I thought, actually, and personally one that I walked away from having a lot of fun. So I'm going to say A tier for John Gregory. So that is all 52 episodes. Not to bore you guys, but oh, that's 51. Yeah, you're right. This is 52. Give us good math. Quick maths right there.